As we all know, there's all types of TV on the market, and this includes LCD, mini LED, RGB, and you have OLED, which a lot of people really like those. But the thing is, every once in a while, a company like Samsung tries to compete with people who's been doing things a little bit longer. For example, if you think about TCL and Hisense, they've been doing mini LEDs for a very long time, but Samsung wants to get in the game, and we have this. This is the Samsung's M70H, and it kind of reminds me of the Crystal UHD series, so they can make a more budget-friendly model. Now, I will tell you that the prices are very reasonable. You can get a 43-inch all the way up to an 85-inch. But the thing kind of puzzled me is that they have different technology when it comes to gaming, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video. This TV does come with these very basic feet, but the thing is, they're easy to install. You just snap into place, and whenever you want to move the TV or mount on the wall, just pull them back out. Very easy. Now, this is a 55-inch version, but you can see it has a base port for the audio, but that could vary with different sizes. And then if we look at the back of it, you can see that it has this kind of ripple design as well as some screw holes so you can mount on the wall. As far as connectivity, we do have 3 HDMIs. There's 2 right here. There's one is an eARC. You have an Ethernet input, 1 USB-C, and a standard TV tuner. Here's the remote control that comes with it. It is powered by batteries and they come in the box. Plus you have some hotkeys at the bottom and it's just a standard Samsung remote control. This TV does come with a screen protector, so all you need to do is just grab this little red tab down here in the corner and start peeling your heart away. Satisfying. Now I would tell you this TV is not ideal for people who have a lot of lights and windows in your room. You can see the glare of the lights and you see it right here. So don't expect much when it comes to anti-reflection. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not paying a lot of money for it, but that gives you an idea of the glare on this television. Before I set it up, let's take a quick look at the design again. Over here is a Samsung logo and there's a press button. And when you press it, you get some different controls on the screen in case you lose your remote control. It does have this nice bezel on top of it. It actually looks pretty good from the front of it. And on the side, it's going to be a little bit thicker because this TV has direct LED backlights. And to be honest with you guys, when I set these TVs up, I don't use remote control. I use the barcode and I use the Samsung SmartThings application because all you need to do is scan that barcode and you can do everything from your mobile device. All right, guys, I have everything else set up. Now we can start checking out the TV, but there's a few things that I noticed when I was unboxing this TV. Now, first of all, this TV doesn't have local dimming zones like most mini LED televisions. Instead, it has a technology called Supreme Mini LED Dimming, which is using software to determine the contrast levels as well as the brightness, but it doesn't have technology built into it like most mini LED TVs on the market. But I find it very interesting, just like some of the other Samsung TVs, instead of using actual hardware, they're using software to determine the contrast as well as the brightness, which maybe it works better than I think, but we'll check it out a little bit later on in the video. But for now, let's take a look at the One UI software that will give you up to 7 years of updates. Now, first of all, we have these different profiles so you can add your family members, plus there's a search. There's also a connection button so you can see everything that's plugged into it. And there's an easy way to get to your settings. Now, I'm not sure what they're doing over at Samsung, but the remote control that comes with this TV doesn't have the voice activated button. But according to the AI companion, when you click on it, you can actually use the SmartThings application. And the way that works is there's an AI button there. Once you press on it, then you can use your smartphone to talk to it. So isn't that kind of forcing people to have the application to get the full control of a television? Maybe that's something that is good or bad. I don't know. You let me know. But I will say that this AI vision will give you updates on what's happening out in the world. But I want to check one other feature, see if it can control the settings of the television. Now let's see how fast the interface is. You can see there is a little bit of lag here. And keep in mind, most TVs are not going to be that fast unless you get into the mid-tier or the higher ends. It also has live TV sections where you can see all type of different content, and a lot of this is free, which is great. with commercial, which I think my buddy FOMO says that they make money from the commercials. Free is all I can say. There's also a gaming tab on this television, which is pretty handy because you can pair PlayStation, Xbox remote to it and use cloud gaming directly on the television. The last tab is applications, and there's plenty of apps in here, and they're constantly growing these app store all the time and give developers rights to actually make applications for the Samsung UI. And some people do complain about the storage in TV, and this has an incredible 1.4 gigabytes, which is plenty enough for any Samsung applications. So that's the operating system in a nutshell. Let's jump right into some demos so we can see how it really performs, because after all, that's probably why you're here to watch this video. So I turned all the lights off so we can actually take a look at what movies look like on it. And to my surprise, I must say that the black levels are better than I thought it was. Even though it doesn't have the local dimming, look at it. It actually looks really good here in the dark. And this is with the dynamic mode on, which is kind of like vivid. Still, it actually looks pretty impressive. So I may have a second opinion about this television, but let's continue. Now looking at this movie Tron, I can say that it has great colors on it, but I'm not seeing those specular highlights that you get from some of the brighter mini LED televisions, but this one's actually not too bad. Now considering the price point on it, I'm actually pretty impressed with the colors as well. And it's because this TV has a color booster on it that Samsung's very proud of, and it's actually doing a good job. In my opinion, I think the average consumer will be happy with this television. One, it's not breaking the bank. Two, it is a Samsung product and a lot of people tend to like Samsung. And three, it actually is a good looking screen when it comes to the picture quality so far. So overall, I find this TV to be pretty impressive for what it is. Who would expect it? Now this TV does have two picture profiles. There's basically what they called HDR 10 Plus, and it has SDR. But let's take a look at this. Now we have it in dynamic range. It actually kind of blows everything out. But again, I'm not seeing too bad of contrast in those black levels. We have standard, eco, movie, and filmmakers mode. And going back and forth here, it appears to me that the movie and the filmmakers are pretty similar. So it could be the metadata that's coming in through the content. Now we're going to take a look at HDR just to see if it improves. So we go back over here to the picture settings, and you can see right here, it does have dynamic, standard, eco, movies, and filmmakers. Again, I'm not seeing too big a difference between the filmmakers and movies modes. But the thing to think about when you get these TVs is that for most people, it will be bright enough, and I think you'll be happy with it. But when you get into the daytime where there's a lot of windows in the room, we have that glare issue, and then we have a TV that's not extremely bright, I think you got to definitely make sure that this TV is going to fit your particular lifestyle. If you're a gamer, keep in mind this is a 60 Hz television, but certain sizes has a technology called DLG 120 Hz. According to what I was finding online, this will give you a 120 Hz experience without having a 120 Hz panel. But here's a caveat, it's not available in all sizes. Now keep in mind the 55-inch and larger will have this technology, but the smaller versions does not, according to what I found online. Now let's go to the PS5 and go down here to screen and video, and we can see what this TV is capable of doing. Now, first of all, it does support variable refresh rate all the way up to 60 frames per second and HDR. And check this out, if you go to 1080p, even the PlayStation can output up to 120 Hz. Unfortunately, I don't have a 43 or 50 inch to be able to test it, but I'll play a few games so you guys can check it out. As this loads up, the audio doesn't sound too bad, and it's because this is a direct LED television, so the cabinet is much bigger than those other thinner models, so you do get a little bit better bass response. And the clarity on it looks pretty good as well. So I loaded up Spider-Man, and one thing I noticed, I picked a dark scene, and it does get pretty dark. And keep in mind, the TV is in gaming mode. So let's go ahead and get out to somewhere that has some sunlight so we can see how well it actually looks. But to me, you know, it looks pretty clean. There we go. There's the specular highlights. So it kind of gives you an idea what gaming is like on this TV. The last thing I want to show you guys is the performance on this television with this Spears and Muscles disc. If you guys are interested, it's an HDR video. I'm playing it on the PlayStation. Sells for around 64 bucks, and you get a whole pack of discs. At 24 frames per second, it doesn't look that smooth at all. I can see a lot of like sputters in the video there, but let's go ahead and get into the menu, see what options that we have. Right now it's off, but what happens when I put it on auto, cleans up the picture quite a bit. Now here's the thing I want to show you. we press on custom, there's no settings. So what you have to do is go down to picture, go down to expert settings, and then we can go down here to the very bottom, press on custom, and then you can change the judder, but I don't see anything for the blur reduction. Now we're going to check out 60 frames per second and see how smooth this is. And as expected, 60 frames per second is always going to do a good job on it. All right, guys, let's talk about the pros and cons about the M70H. Now, let's talk about the cons first. First of all, you come with the AI companion. Why don't you get remote control with the voice command? The fact you have to download the SmartThings application, I think is a huge miss. Also, this Tizen operating system for years, I just think is very confusing for a lot of people. And maybe I haven't seen it yet, but a lot of times TVs will show you to continue watch when you use applications on it. And I haven't really seen that on Samsung televisions. Another thing about this TV is that it is a bit laggy. So when I was testing it, if you press up and down, you will see a little glitch and not a lot of memory. We're talking less than 2 gigabytes of memory. So that's not exciting when it comes down to it. But on the plus side of it, this TV actually looks better, in my opinion, than the older 7 series. So for the roughly the same price, now you're getting a mini LED, which is pretty good. Now it doesn't have the local dimming, but the dimming was actually pretty impressive. When I was looking at the contrast, I always look for this gray haze when I'm playing letterbox, and this one actually passed the test. I also think this is going to be a great TV if you want to add the Samsung Q Symphony audio system. And I think for people who are on a budget, now when I say budget, I mean not a $3,000, $4,000 on TV. I think this would be a great fit for just about anyone. And the fact that you can get it in an 85-inch makes it that much better. But that's all I have about this television. And one thing you're probably wondering is why these other 2 TVs over here? Well, I'm going to compare them in the near future. This is the TCL QM 5K from last year. It's around $450. Then we have the M70H, and I want to compare it against the M80H, see if it's that much better. That's what to expect in the future. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm Tech Steve. Thanks all for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.